So I think Bane has become really popular lately. And if you watched my first video about him, I mentioned that his buff was my favorite among all the heroes. I already knew back then that he would become popular, but he far exceeded my expectations. He's so popular now that he gets picked almost every game, often even as a first pick, and he also gets banned quite a lot. If Bane far exceeded expectations, Alice on the other hand didn't meet the players' expectations. Meanwhile, Thamuz feels just right. He seems balanced in this meta. His basic attacks hurt, but in this meta, if you rely solely on basic attacks, you'll really have a hard time. Even long-range marksmen struggle, so what more for short-range heroes, right? I think Bane is the most flexible hero right now. I mean, he was already flexible before, but now I can say he's meta in 3 lanes: gold, mid, and jungle. And I'm not just saying he can play those roles, he's actually meta in them. I can't think of any other hero who's meta in at least 3 lanes. Do you have any idea? Comment down below. Well, we all know that some heroes like Hanabi, Zilong, and Argus are also flexible. They can play in all lanes. And we sometimes see that happen when we have a dark system teammate. But yeah, he's meta in 3 lanes, and for the other 2, EXP and Roam, he's still decent. So I can say that Bane can actually play all lanes right now. And that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video. I played him in all lanes. In this first game, I'm using him as a gold laner. I can say that Bane can really carry his teammates because in this game, we were behind during the early game, but we managed to turn things around because of me. You can actually carry your teammates more easily if your hero is strong in the late game, compared to using a hero that's only strong in the early game. I think around 90% of games reach the late game. I mean more than 12 minutes. It's really rare for a game to end in less than 12 minutes. And Bane is the kind of hero who shines in the late game and scales really well, but he's also decent in the early to mid game. He's not a burden to the team that needs to wait for 3 or 4 items before he can start fighting back. That's also why he's good in the gold lane, so he can get his items faster. Because he still needs items, and it's important to remember that Bane is still a late game hero. Even though his early to mid game has improved, there are still many heroes who can bully him during that phase. He can handle the early to mid game much better now compared to before, but he's still item dependent. So, yeah, we actually won this game, and in the next one, I tried him in the mid lane. Like I said before, the mid lane is for heroes with decent wave clear capability, and Bane is pretty decent at that. Not to mention, he deals magic damage, which is actually ideal for the mid lane. Although not always necessary, it's generally better if your mid laner deals magic damage, unless your gold lane or jungler already does, which in this game, and in most cases, they don't. The reason I always say that every team needs magic damage is because if you don't have any, the enemies can easily counter you through items, if they know what they're doing. There are a lot of items that counter physical damage, and most of the best defensive items are made for that. Even Wind of Nature only works against physical damage. Against magic damage, there's no such item like that. It's also good if your mid laner can rotate around the map quickly, and a big part of that comes from being able to clear minion waves fast. If you can clear quickly, you can also rotate quickly. Bane rotates fast because of his second skill, which boosts his movement speed and heals him as well. That healing is a big factor since he doesn't need to go back to base every time his HP drops to half or lower. So he's also great in the mid lane. Although whether you play him in gold or mid doesn't really matter once you reach the late game. The difference is only noticeable during the early to mid stages, since both use a magic build anyway. I haven't tried the physical build for gold lane Bane yet, but I can already say the magic build is better. The physical build only really shines when you use him as a jungler, which I'll be doing later. And whether it's a physical or magic build, both are strong, especially in the late game. And I know some of you are already thinking about building 6 holy crystals on Bane, thinking it would make his burst damage and heal stronger. Yeah, maybe. But I think the safest number of holy crystals you can build is 3 at most. I've only tried 2 so far, and the damage is already really strong. Honestly, even 1 holy crystal is enough. You know, the unique passive of Holy Crystal only applies once, so even if you build 5 more, their unique passives become useless. What you'll get from the other 5 Holy Crystals is just pure magic power. Yes, it can slightly reduce the cooldown of your second skill. It actually goes down to less than 1 second. But since you still need to charge it to maximize the damage, the real cooldown is still around 3 seconds or more. And how about your other skills, like your ultimate and first skill? They don't get any cooldown reduction from multiple Holy Crystals, but they also play a big role. Your ultimate for crowd control and burst damage, and your first skill for the slow effect. Not to mention, the price of Holy Crystal is really expensive. Imagine buying 6 of those. You still need to build Blood Wings for the shield and movement speed, and Divine Glaive or Wishing Lantern to melt the enemy front line. Usually one of those is enough. And if you really want instant burst damage against squishy enemies, Lightning Truncheon actually deals more damage than adding another Holy Crystal. Plus, that extra 10% CDR it gives is useful for all your skills, not just focused on your second skill. Anyway, in this game, I'm playing him in the EXP lane this time. He's decent there, but not really recommended. Like I mentioned earlier, he's much better in the 3 other lanes. The thing about the EXP lane is that you're usually alone, and most of the time it's a 1v1 situation. And if you know Bane, he's much better in team fights than in 1v1s. That's actually why he's often used in the pro scene, which is also one of the reasons he's become so popular lately. Right now, most EXP laners are really strong in both 1v1 and team fights, and they can also frontline and zone enemies effectively. Meanwhile, Bane is still quite squishy, and can't really frontline against enemies. He's more of a burst type hero, like a mix between a mage and an assassin. Most EXP lane heroes are strong in the early game, which is where Bane really struggles. They can easily bully him early on, and it becomes hard for you to build your items in that situation. Unlike in the gold lane, where the heroes are usually late game scalers just like Bane. That's why he fits much better there. But like I said earlier, laning doesn't really matter much once the game reaches the late stage, where you and your teammates are always grouped up, and the same goes for the enemy team. Plus, your items will still be the same once you reach the late game anyway. By the way guys, I've discovered an effective way to pull off the ultimate plus flicker combo. I said before that it's not worth the risk, but that's because I didn't know the trick yet. I'll explain it to you in detail in the next video. It's still not 100% guaranteed that I can pull it off consistently though. Like in this clip, I messed it up. You really need to be super fast when pressing flicker. But it was still funny because I managed to catch Lunix and kill her anyway. So yeah, totally part of the plan.
Victory!
So in the next game, I played him as a jungler, and this was actually the first time I used a physical attack build. The playstyle is completely different. With the magic build, your second skill and ultimate deal most of the damage, but with the physical build, it's your first skill and basic attacks that are strong. That's why it's really important to manage your enhanced basic attacks properly, since that's where most of your damage will come from. Still, his second skill and ultimate are very useful. The second skill gives a movement speed boost and also grants you 2 enhanced basic attacks when used. And his ultimate still deals pretty good damage since it also scales with physical attack, although it hits harder with the magic build. The CC it provides is also a big factor. In all the games I played in this video, I struggled a bit in the early game. I don't know if it was because of me or my teammates. Well, maybe both. With the magic build, it's your second skill that gets an extremely low cooldown. But with the physical build, it's your first skill that becomes spammable. To explain it in detail, every 100 physical attack reduces the cooldown of your first skill by 8%, while every 100 magic power reduces your second skill's cooldown by 7%. So you can pretty much spam your first skill when you build physical items and have Blade of Despair. If the second skill's way of maximizing damage is by charging it fully, the first skill's way is to make it bounce between enemies. From my experience though, the magic build is better. His second skill just deals more damage, and it's easier to meet the conditions to maximize it. You can even one-hit squishy enemies with your second skill or ultimate when using the magic build. With the physical build, it's harder to one-hit an enemy. But don't get me wrong, Bane is still strong with the physical build. We're just comparing him to himself here, with different builds. In fact, Bane is probably the most unique hero right now, because he can effectively use 3 different builds: pure magic, physical, and tank. X-Borg is also unique, but in a different way. He can't go full mage, though he can mix 3 different item types in one build.